welcome to another episode of The Story Of, and today I have the honor of, well, we all have the honor of learning the story of
the Arch Queen.
The Arch Queen. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, how do you feel?
I'm excited.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to be here.
So pretty much the Story Of podcast is just me interviewing people that I find like dope in one way or another, and you're one of them. And yeah, I just wanted to really learn the story about your life, starting from your earliest memory to now and everything in between. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Awesome.
So we'll start with you introducing yourself to the audience.
So my name is Kiessence, and I am the owner of the Arch Queen. I am a brow specialist, and I do services from waxing, tinting, lamination, temporary services to permanent makeup services.
Mm-hmm.
And I am also an instructor, so I teach what I know.
And what do you like teach pretty much in your class?
So right now I'm teaching the intro. I have an intro class to brow shaping, which is pretty much the fundamentals and the foundations of brow shaping. So we are used to going to a nail salon and we're telling the nail person, I just want my brows not too thin and not too arched. So with going to a brow artist, it's much different because we're consulting more. We're looking at the anatomy of your face, we're looking at your hair flow, we're looking at your bone structure. And so in the intro course, I am pretty much teaching the importance of navigating these factors that we can't control, especially to all my students, because we all heard the saying, eyebrows are sisters, not twins. So in my intros course, I am diving deep as to why that's a thing.
Yeah.
Yes, so I teach that, and I also teach brow lamination and henna brows as well. Yeah.
Okay, I love that. So we're gonna get into a lot more of your current day things that you do, but before we do, let's kind of start at like the beginning of things for you. First, we'll start with how we met.
Okay.
Which I think I found you via Instagram. I don't remember how your brow page came up, but I just saw, I think maybe on my Explore page, and I'm just like, I really like her, I like her work. And then I came to you, I loved the service, obviously, I loved your first space that I saw. And it just kind of grew from there. And then I feel like at our appointments, we just chatted a lot.
It just clicked.
Yeah, it just kind of clicked naturally, so yeah. And how long ago was that?
So I opened up in 2020, and I want to say you came that year.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So was that your first space that I saw?
That was my first space.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
That was where all the magic started.
Yeah, and here you are today.
Here I am.
So I met you by the name Rocky, which is one of your nicknames.
Yes.
And how did you get that nickname?
So my last name is Rock.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes. So I was an athlete growing up, and typically we were addressed by our last names. And so they would say Rock, and then, you know, obviously like the boxer Rocky.
Yeah.
In basketball, they're like, that's Rocky. Don't mess with her.
I got you. So one of my favorite questions that I ask on the pod, what is one of your earliest memories?
In life in general?
Yeah.
The first thing that came to mind is when I was about 10 years old, and I snuck some of my mom's makeup on the school bus. And when I got home, I forgot to take it off.
So you came home face beat, and she's just like,
I want to say I had some like eyeliner on and I took that same black eyeliner and like put it on my eyebrows, buffed it out just a little bit. That's the first thing that just came to mind.
Yeah, I love that memory. That's so cute. So then you kind of knew from an early age that you were gonna be who you are today, yeah?
I actually had no idea. So my mom didn't allow me to wear makeup at all, which is so funny, but she let me do my eyebrows. And back then, the thin eyebrows was still a trend, and I ended up getting my eyebrows messed up, and I couldn't go back from there. So I went with my mom's makeup, and I took her eyeliner, and I just created my own shape. And a few years later, as they were still growing in. They take so much time to grow in. A few years later, I got into modeling, and there wasn't a lot of representation there, especially for women of color. So that's what excited me, and I feel like all girls, I don't want to say all girls love makeup, but I want to say that's what drew me more into makeup, because that was my only opportunity to wear it. Well, my mom didn't allow me to make it. So fast forward to 2014, when the whole eyebrows on fleek on Vine came about. You would never see me without my eyebrows done since then. I dipped into the Anastasia dip brow and I had a little bit of eyebrow blindness. I don't know, have you heard about eyebrow blindness?
No.
Okay.
What's that?
So everyone always asks me, like, how do I tell someone in a polite way that they need their eyebrows done, right? And so I recently came across this trend on TikTok called eyebrow blindness. And you know that song, like, I remember when I lost my mind? Okay, so it's to that song, and it's like people putting up pictures of like the most horrendous shapes of their brows. Like, I'm talking Sharpie, I'm talking Angry Bird, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna post my video soon, but that definitely was me. But everybody loves my eyebrows.
Yeah, your eyebrows look really good.
Thank you.
Your makeup looks really good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so I've been into makeup since then, and you know, it's actually funny how I got into brows. But when I tell you I was so obsessed with brows, my AP Spanish project was on cejas.
Really?
La historia de las cejas, the history of eyebrows. So to see myself today doing eyebrows, I don't think I chose it. I think it chose me.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys both just married each other naturally, like you and brows. That's, I like that. And I can tell because of just your passion and like what you do and like taking your time with like mapping brows and all that stuff. So, and then your earliest memory being that's kind of funny. So where did you grow up and how was it like growing up for you?
So I grew up in New Haven, Hamden, Connecticut, and I like to, when I think about my childhood, I think of that lone wolf. So I am the first daughter, I am the second child, I'm the middle child. I have an older brother, there's four of us. I have an older brother, a younger sister, and a younger brother. And I want to say the oddball out, because I like to read and I really took a lot of pride in school, which my siblings did not. And my mom always reminds me how I would call her crying, like, these teachers don't know nothing. Like, I can teach the class by myself. So I definitely was a bookworm. I excelled in academics. I didn't get into sports until about 7th grade, where I played basketball up until the 11th grade, and I started running track in 10th grade. 10th grade. Yeah, so growing up, I just always kind of just did my own thing. I never had like solid friend groups, I would say. I feel like I was like that floater friend, like not that priority friend, but like, oh hey, she's there. If this doesn't work out, there she goes. Because I was just so much to myself. I don't ever really feel like growing up I necessarily belonged in any group. Yeah. So I'm that type of person in the group chat, and the group project that I'm like, I don't care what you're doing, I don't care what you're doing, I'm gonna do this whole project by myself. So I've just always been a loner growing up.
That sounds like one of the reasons why we kind of like naturally connected and meshed, because I kind of feel like I was a little bit the same way. Like I feel like, and I've always said it, like everyone said that like, oh yeah, Kwam's my friend, but I couldn't be like, oh yeah, that's my friend. It's like I'm friends to these people, but like I don't really, not like I didn't trust people, but like I don't know, I just never really gave them enough chance to like get close enough to me. It's like I'm kind of good on my own. Like it's cool to have friends, but I'm also very cool alone.
Seriously.
So yeah,
I feel like energy is just everything. If we click, we click. I feel like as a kid, you know, you'll have somebody next to you, you smile at them within your classes. As an adult, I just feel like it's much harder. You know, but for the most part, I've had situations where girls like, let's be friends, and I feel like that's a little too pushy. It just has to kind of flow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I feel like even when people are the ones who are like, let's be friends, it's kind of just, I don't know.
Those are the ones like, that were sent.
Yeah.
And not from the Lord.
Yeah, then they don't even give the effort, the energy. It's just like, why did you even say let's be friends? Do you know what a friend is? But anyways.
It's a good question.
Moving on. So this is like a random question, but I like random questions like this. Okay. Who was your favorite relative growing up? Either immediate family or extended family?
Growing up, I would say my father's mom. My grandmother, I call her Mama Mona because her name is Ramona, and I don't know when that started, but to this day I call her Mama Mona.
Yeah.
My grandmother was definitely my favorite person, and my siblings used to taunt me and say, you don't have any friends, all you have is Mama Mona. She was just my safe space. Anytime where I felt like I was dealing with like any sort of like growing pain, or I just wanted to vent or express myself, I felt like she was the only person who actually heard me. So yeah, definitely my grandmother.
Yeah. Do you feel like as a younger person, anytime growing up, that you gravitated towards older people more, like for not just friendship, but like, I don't know, like, do you feel like growing up you could relate more to older people versus people your age, or even now, do you feel that way?
That's a good question. I never necessarily felt like I could relate to them. I feel like older people always gravitated towards me. I was tall growing up, and everyone always thought I was much taller than, everyone always thought I was much older than what
just
I was.
Because you were tall.
I remember probably being about 11 at the car dealership, and they're like, is this your Chevy? Everyone was like, she's 11.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would always have older adults just like dumping all their problems onto me, and somehow I would have this wisdom to give to them, and they're like, can you just get me?
Yeah.
And sometimes I would be so confused about the things that would come out my mouth, and like as I get older, I just feel like it had to have been God. Like, what else could it have been? Right. You know, I definitely feel like I've always been like a healer. And that's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy because it's like, who am I gonna run to besides my Mama Mona? You know, so yeah, that's always been pretty heavy, and I feel like looking back at this adult age, I feel like I've been carrying a lot of other people's problems because of their gravitation towards me. Yeah. In terms of relating, I don't really feel like I relate to really anyone. Yeah, I definitely feel like I haven't really met anyone like me. And it's not to be like cocky or say I'm in some like superior lane. It's just I never really felt seen or heard, you know, growing up, I would say. Yeah.
So what would you like do to like offset that feeling? Did you just like kind of cope with it and it's just like part of life? Because I feel like I did that in some ways with not feeling like seen or heard. Or like, did you turn inward like on yourself about it? Like, how did you manage that feeling?
So I feel like I had a lot of understanding of people, but I didn't necessarily know, you know, certain terms in terms of like what they've been going through. So I actually took up psychology, and it ended up being too easy because I'm like, oh, I know what that is. Now I just have a name for it. And psychology sparked my interest in like the self-help category book. So I read a lot about, you know, human behavior and about energy and just spirituality. And I feel like because I have a lot of understanding, because I had a lot of understanding, I felt like I was able, what really happened was I feel like I started to enable certain behaviors because of my understanding. And that was very draining. And I feel like looking back in terms of how I coped with it, I don't really know how I cope, to be completely honest with you, because it's not easy carrying everybody on your back. And my dad always tell me, you think you could save the world, like you can't save everybody, you know what I mean? And I just had to accept that and go inward. And I feel like God just closed so many doors so rapidly. Like it was, when I started my business, it was like rapid fire. Like so many doors was closing, so many things were getting revealed to me about people, and it felt very lonely at first. And once the path was clear, once the dust settles, I'm like, you're not lonely. You got your solitude. You got the most important asset that was taken from you, and that was your time. But now you have the freedom. You know, so I just felt like that was my walk. And looking back, I don't have any regrets. There's not a single person I lost that I want back. There's not a single place that I lost that I want back, because where I am today, I understand why it happened. And again, like it could only be God. And you know, yeah.
And I think that's the most important part, like knowing that everything that's lost isn't a loss. Like it actually, to me, there really is no loss. There is no like winning and failing and any of that, because everything's just a part of your experience and your story. Like I feel like, I don't know, some people think that that's just too like optimistic and like happy-go-lucky, but it's true. Like I feel like I can even look at something like death as like not a loss, like because like there's always, like God could be saving that person from themselves. They could be, it's just, I don't know.
We all have a clock, and I just feel like, yes, you're gonna miss certain people when they're gone, but it was their time.
Yeah, like everyone has their time. Everything is already written, how I believe, like everything is a part of your story. So it's just like nothing, everything is what it is. Like it's not a good or a bad or a, you know, like it just is what it is.
It is what it is.
And I want to say, to your point, like how you haven't like met anyone really like yourself, I feel like that's definitely true. Like there's probably no one as unique as you in all the ways that you are, but just hearing you speak, like we are very alike. Like just the fact of like having older people like gravitate to you and kind of like emotionally dump on you. So like I dealt with that too. So when my mom passed away, I was 9 and my youngest sister was like 7 or something. And at my mom's funeral, and then there's all this backstory about our history prior to that, but I didn't live with my mom from the ages of like 4 to 9. But at her funeral, I, little 9-year-old me, had to like make a speech there, and none of like my aunt, I don't want to say like anyone specifically, but like I don't remember a lot of other adults who like knew her for more years and were older than me speaking, but I was, and it's just like, I don't know how I found the words of what to say to comfort everyone. I don't know how I was able to like take on my aunt's grief, my grandma's grief, my grandpa's grief, my sister's grief, my own grief that I didn't even know how to process at the time. Like it was just a lot. So I totally understand. And like even like throughout life, like I'm just, older people are always coming to me, and like you said, somehow we know what to say. No idea how we have this wisdom, but we just know what to say to help heal others. And it's like, oh, that's a lot.
9 years old to deal with that loss. I'm sorry for your loss.
I appreciate that.
That's not easy.
Yeah.
You know, you only get one mom.
Yeah. It was just like a lot. So yeah, I will say like there are some people, at least in the world, at least me, who can relate to you in some ways.
I love the space that we fostered together.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Like I'm very grateful, and
me too.
You know, to go back on my point and saying that there was no one like me, that was definitely in the past, because I definitely feel like this business definitely brought relationships like this,
like
that I just like appreciate so much.
Yeah.
Like I found my people.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So a little bit more of your childhood. So did you grow up with like both of your parents?
So I grew up with my mom and my dad. Now my dad is not my biological dad, but he's been there since I was about 2, so I call him my dad. So they got married, and he's always been present in my house. Him and my mom are still together. And my biological father, I call him my father, just to have that difference there. No, he was not. He lived within close proximity, but I want to say that we became close and started speaking more about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And how has, if you care to share, if you ever don't, you can just tell me, like, I don't want to talk about that. How is it, because I also met my dad, like, later in life, and I've since decided he's no longer allowed in my life.
Boundaries.
But how has it been for you, like, kind of meeting him, honestly? Because before, too, you don't probably have much memory, but, like...
So I always knew who he was. Well, I'm not going to say always. I was told that he was around a little bit before I was born, probably up until about 2 years old. I believe that's when my parents split, like 1-2 years. I have no idea the timeline.
Yeah.
Things that happen between two people, there's always two sides of the story, and then the truth. So when I was 8 years old, I want to say that's when I got the full understanding that he was my father, and that he had a responsibility. So I remember just being like the little, my childhood nickname was Kiki. The little Kiki was just a little upset about the absence there, but my mom and my dad, they provided, so to them it was just like, you're good, like you don't need to be upset.
Yeah.
But I just feel like every kid, a lot of people don't want to talk about this, but I just feel like it takes two to create life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, everybody wants to have that relationship with both of their parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people don't want to talk about these things, and everybody's personal feelings and opinions creates energy, creates projections, and you kind of pick sides as a kid.
Yeah.
So I want to say that I'm grateful that I do have unconditional love for my father. I always say that everyone did the best they could with the understanding and the knowledge that they had, and that they had, because that allows me to I just feel like if you knew better, you would do better, so that's how I'm able to just be so graceful. I feel like God gives us so much grace, so it's just like I feel like it's our duty to return that grace, even though we can be emotional sometimes, and we can be attached to situations, feelings, and emotions when we're like, nope. But I feel like that's what boundaries are about, and standing on business. You know what I mean? It's like once people pick a side, like they have to stay there.
Yeah.
And if you position somebody on the side, it's up to you if you want to let them come back and spend the life.
So when you were 8 and you gained that like awareness about what it is to be a father and like the responsibilities and stuff, how did that like awareness come to you? I don't remember exactly how it came to me. I just remember being angry because I just didn't understand why he did not do what he had to do to take that responsibility. And I feel like he just knew I was good. Yeah, just like, oh, she's fine.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
But I honestly feel like
father,
too, like not making an excuse for nobody, but being a young parent is not easy. Like sometimes I look back at old pictures of my family and I'm like doing the math and I'm like, Mom, you were only this age and you had this, all of us.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm thinking about me, I'm like, it's a lot. It's just me, myself, and I. I'm like, this is a lot. You know what I mean? So I feel like ultimately, anything that happened to you when you were a kid, any trauma that you experience, people's absence, lack of presence, and I feel like we just have to understand as an adult, like at some point we have to stop pointing fingers. We were given this life, we were given this path, and I honestly feel like you have to at some point accept your trauma, make peace with it, and just realize that it wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
And move on the best way that you can, because I just feel like healing is a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
And you never know when something's gonna pop up.
And that's the part that I feel like people don't realize, that healing is not, it's a ing, it's not a it's done. Like, you can like feel healed from something, but like you said, you never know if there's a trigger that can happen that you're not aware of that literally can trigger you. So yeah, I feel like healing is a journey that's like ongoing, and it should be something, okay, even if you're not working on like a specific, like this is how I feel about therapy too, because I feel like some people think, which I guess it's fine, like to each its own. Some people use therapy as like, oh, I'm going through this issue, let me see a therapist, okay, I'm done. I feel like therapy should be like working out, like a weekly thing, you know, because, or a regular scheduled thing, because there's just always room for improvement as a person, as a human. Times are evolving, things are changing. Like, I feel like more people should look at it as like a self-improvement sort of thing versus like a problem solver.
I feel like the first thing about that is you have to want to improve. I feel like so many people are just stuck. And it's so funny because I would always say that I don't want any kids until I heal my inner child. Or like, I don't want to be that woman who's 40 years old crying about the ex from 20 years ago. You know what I mean? So I like making these statements at such a young age. I want to say about maybe like 15, 16 years old, as I was understanding psychology, understanding healing, understanding trauma, and just being aware of like the adults around you is just like, I feel like people are placed here to show you like, is this how you want to be, or do you want to be like this? You know, and I completely made the distinction and said, I want to be like this, you know. So it definitely starts with wanting to improve, and I feel like you learn from the people around you.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into one of my questions, which was, it was kind of for later on, but it kind of merges now. It was regarding relationships, but I guess it'll go to like your own self too. Do you feel like the people that you grew up around and like the way you saw relationships, or just saw people, how their lives panned out in front of you at a young age, do you feel like that helped to gauge or like mold you into like who you are, or like kind of craft your mindset into how you think relationships should be? Or do you feel like what you saw didn't do any of that, and it's kind of just totally what you're seeing nowadays?
I feel like it's like a little bit of both. I definitely saw different dynamics. I saw married couples, I saw cohabitants, divorced people, and things like that. I feel like at a young age, like I just wanted that fairy tale love, and I didn't really look at anybody else's situation. In all aspects in life, I don't really look at, like, there's nothing that nobody has that I want. I don't know like how I became like that. I think that comes from being a loner. And a part of being a loner is dealing with other people's projections. And I feel like the biggest part growing up in all aspects, family, school, in all settings, I feel like I've just been constantly trying to fight projections, and then that just became who I was, a people pleaser. So with that being said, you know, I was in a relationship for about 9 years, and you know, it started off as a friendship, which I feel like those are the best type of relationships. We were definitely best friends, and when you get with somebody and someone has your heart, you just, I don't know if this is a girl thing, but you know when you get somebody and you just start planning your whole life out, and no one tells you, like, when this happens, or like, you're not seeing eye to eye, or this is not what you have imagined. Nobody teaches you how to leave.
Yeah. Oh my God, can I just say that's literally something that I felt and was going through and said and like prayed about like last year.
Wow.
Which now like the relationship has recovered, but yeah, I was just like, why is this so hard? Like, why do you learn, oh, if they cheat, leave, if they do this, leave, if they have a baby on you, leave? But if it's like, if you want to like leave in like a healthy way, and like there's no one ever talks about that growing up.
I feel like we're programmed to pay more attention to negativity than positivity.
Yeah.
It's like do you recall anybody preaching the importance of love, God being love, love is kind, love is like, do you I don't recall anybody teaching me like the importance of love and like love being the answer. So to be this positive person that I am today, I'm grateful, but people are just so focused on negativity.
Yeah.
You know, so of course they're gonna say, oh, they cheat, they do this. It gets doesn't it like program your mind to start looking for these
Yeah,
things?
literally. Like, so when I got into like my first long-term relationship, like actual relationship, like we asked each other out, all that good stuff. Yeah, it was just always like low key. I had to like kind of self check myself. I'm like, I feel like I'm looking for problems.
Like you're
like,
reaching, girl.
Yeah, definitely reaching. Like for any little thing, you know. It's just like I gotta just chill and just like enjoy like what I have, you know.
Absolutely. I saw something yesterday and it said, "I'm not here to be consumed. I'm here to be experienced." And I love that because that piggybacks off of my new favorite quote. I was in Home Goods about 2 weeks ago, and oh my gosh, I feel like I was supposed to go there to see that now that I'm bringing this up.
Yeah.
So like for some reason, I'm on my way home. I had a long day. I'm like, I want a new blanket set. I want a new shower curtain. Did I need it? No. But I went there and I was at the register and I saw this sign that says, be attached to be open to everything and attached to nothing.
I love that.
And I wanted to get it, you know, where you're like, I don't want it.
Yes, for me, especially at Home Goods, because it's like it's so damn cheap, but it's like,
it was $10, and I'm like, you know, I don't like this font, so I'm just gonna take a picture. So I took a picture of it, and I feel like that just sealed my last. I feel like we go through multiple healing journeys. So like the journey that I just was on, the warfare that I was going through, I feel like that was like the God's grace, like be open to everything and attached to nothing. So now I feel like this new walk of mine consists of exactly what the quote says.
Yeah.
Like be attached to nothing.
Yeah.
Be open to everything.
Yeah.
You know, like don't block yourself off, but and don't close yourself in.
Yeah, you should allow yourself to experience all experiences, you know. So I have a question, not saying any names, but since our last like little powwow to now, do you feel like that was a different journey than this one?
Absolutely.
Me too. I love transition too. So I love that for us.
I love that. I love that. Honestly, and that's the beauty of it. And I just want to say, I feel like when you're an entrepreneur, you just have a different type of discipline.
Yeah. Our minds just are wired differently.
Yes, but one thing about it, as hard as it has been, because I believe you started your business during the pandemic too.
Like a few months right before.
A few months before. I want to just applaud the both of us because we don't celebrate ourselves enough to like go through that and to still show up every single day. You know, and to want to show up.
Yeah.
And working for yourself, nobody's breathing down your back telling you, you gotta go clock in. You gotta do this, get up. You know what I mean? There's days where I'm up at 5 a.m. There's days where I'm making it 5 minutes before my client. I'm human. Yeah. But I show up. Yeah. We show up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of us.
Yeah, I'm proud of us too. It's commendable, and I feel like it's something that we should be proud of because, like, so random story. I was calling AT&T the other day, and she was just asking me all this extra stuff. And she was just like, wow, like to be 27 and have a business, like that's really like impressive. Like I don't have a business. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. You sitting here talking to me.
Right.
But yeah, like I do have a business and I've had it for a lot of years and like we work hard. Like you said, like we do all the delegating of everything. Like if we don't do it, it's not gonna happen and we're not gonna get anywhere.
Exactly.
So that's like a big like task to like, you know, be proud of.
It definitely is. And like no matter like the delivery, how it came out, it's just a good reminder, like this is where I am, this is what I have, and I'm gonna find satisfaction here because it's gonna just keep getting better.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Yeah.
It shows.
Let's give it millions. So let's go a little bit ahead of like your early childhood and things like that. Let's get into like middle high school because I feel like that's its whole own era. For most of us our age, I feel like middle school is kind of a little blur unless it was something like sadly traumatic. But we'll go to like 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, all that sort of stuff. Do you consider yourself like you were like a popular kid? Well, you said you were kind of like a loner.
So I was a loner, but I was in a few extracurricular activities. So as I mentioned, I was an athlete. I played basketball and I ran track. And then in terms of my classes, I was in, so there was levels 5, 7, and 9. I had all level 9 classes and a few AP courses.
Nice.
So I saw the same kids, and they were, the thing is that I went from New Haven to Hamden, and that was like going from a bike to a car. And not to say like one is better than the other, but
it was a big transition.
It was a big transition. I feel like, and I went to a magnet school in New Haven, and I felt like I was seen, I was heard, I was felt, I was in plays,
understood,
lots of arts, lots of creativity was introduced. I get to Hamden.
Was that a public school?
Hamden Middle. Yeah, it's a public school, and I walk into the gym, and there's just kids sitting on the floor, and I'm like, what's going on here? And they had it grouped by houses, so house 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm in house 3, and then within the house there's the homeroom teachers, and I'm like, I found my homeroom teacher, and I sit on the floor, and I'm sitting here like, am I new middle school fit? I'm sitting on the floor, like, what is this? And from that moment, I felt like a number. I did. And so everybody else kind of, so there's like different districts in Hamden, and everybody from the districts go to the same middle school. So I always loved school and education, but at that moment I just liked education and I hated school.
Yeah.
I hated how everything was just so structured, and you had no choice, and you had no freedom, and you just had to, move forward. So that was my earliest memory of middle school, and like I said, everyone knew each other, and like I felt like the new girl, but everybody was new because all these schools were like merged together. But it's like people had their friends already, and I didn't. So I had maybe about 2 or 3 friends, and I didn't feel recognized in none of my classes. I always got good grades, high honors. I think I got my first C in like, I don't know, senioritis. Senior year, I didn't care. I was like, I'm done. Take the C. C's get degrees, right?
Yeah, right.
So that transitioned into high school, and in high school I felt like, and I don't mean to sound like a victim in any street.
Girl, this is your story.
I don't mean to sound like a victim, but looking back, I felt like because I was that loner and people didn't understand me, I felt like everybody just tried to figure me out, and it's like, you're not gonna figure me out.
Rest.
Like, for all you know, I can start juggling right now, girl. Like, you don't know me. Right. You know what I mean? Like,
I have a random question. Do you know how to tap dance?
I do.
Do you?
I do.
I literally just had a gut feeling that you know how to tap dance.
Oh my goodness.
That is so cool.
I did. Okay, so my parents and like my siblings used to always say like, I have no rhythm and stuff like that, but I did tap, and it was just like so fun. I always wanted to do hip hop, but because I was tall, I had all these long limbs and stuff like that. I don't feel like I had rhythm until like now. You know what I mean? So you get to know your body and stuff like that.
Can you twerk?
I could.
Okay, perfect.
I could.
That's good.
I love to.
I love to twerk too.
I love to.
Oh my god, I can't believe you can tap dance. I can't believe it though, cause
Did you tap?
No,
wow.
But I always thought it was like pretty fascinating.
Yes,
because then you can also like cutesy when you're doing it.
Like,
yeah. That and ballet. I wish I like learned how to do.
It's not too late.
That's true.
I actually want to learn ballet as an adult.
I want to learn how to play guitar as an adult.
I want to learn how to play piano.
Oh my god, we could play a song.
Let's start a band.
Let's start a band. That'll be lit. And Brian can do percussion.
Okay.
Right. Somebody can sing. But yeah, yes. I love that for us. Can you sing?
I think we all can sing in a little way, but not like sing. I don't know.
I don't know how much I believe that. I feel like people who can sing would say that. But they're trying to be humble.
Okay, so it's so funny. I don't know that I feel like with me, I don't know how to control my breathing. So even when I played like basketball and track, I would always black out because I would hold my breath. So I took a yoga class maybe, I don't know, maybe like post-pandemic. I got back into yoga, and she's like, find your breath, and I'm like, there it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're breathing, like that's how I'm alive, obviously. But I bring that up to say that I used to do a whole 400, and I was really good at track. I only lost one race, and that's when I transitioned from outdoor to indoor, because outdoor was 1 lap, indoor was 2 laps. I had no endurance because I did not know how to breathe. So I feel like with singing, I feel like I can hold a note. I feel like I sound okay. Like I don't hate my voice, but I feel like I need a little bit of tuning.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and I wouldn't be shy to sing.
Yeah.
Not right now.
Well, you don't give. No, I'm not gonna ask. You don't give shy though, so like I feel like you'd be great. I feel like you could kind of be great at anything you do.
Thank you.
I feel the same way about myself. It's just like all you have to do is learn, and then that's the difference between being ignorant and not like learn the skill, practice the skill, believe in yourself. But like that, I don't know. People just. It's hard for people, that part, like believing in themselves, because then if you don't believe in yourself, I guess it's kind of what I naturally have that I kind of overlook sometimes. I kind of believe in myself for everything, but if you don't have that, then you won't even seek out the course to learn the thing, and like you won't even try to practice because you just don't believe.
You don't believe. It's really unfortunate that, and I can't even say that I've been there before where I didn't believe in myself.
Yeah, well, I have. But I don't know, I have a weird relationship with my confidence, because like I'll like verbally say I don't feel confident, but then I will do stuff like this, like starting a podcast and all this stuff with no knowledge, just trying stuff, and it's like I guess I am confident. I
feel like we all have a little voice in our head that tells us we can't do this and we can't do that,
and it's just like my heart never believes it, like because I'll be saying I can't do it while I'm doing it. It's like I cannot do it. It's like you're literally doing it.
We're human, you know.
Very like layered people.
I think for me it's that like I never had the desire to prove, but it's like if you sleep on me and now I gotta really show you, and I'm gonna tuck you in after I show you, you know what I mean? So it's just like challenge accepted.
Yeah, literally. That's how I look at everything. Like, Brian's always like, why are you so competitive? It's like, because I'm a winner. Like, because I'm going to win. Even if we're not competing, I'm just going to win.
Like, I'm competing with myself. You
literally.
Know what I mean?
Like, I'm always doing better.
Yeah.
So, something I wanted to mention about breathing. I know you work out and stuff. Do you, like, practice your breathing in the gym? Because that's a great place to do it.
I do. So, I actually studied exercise science in college. So, that's what I have my degree in.
Awesome.
I am an exercise physiologist. And we learned about concentric and eccentric motion. It sounds like in my head Chinese to me, but there's basically the lowering and like the lifting. And so basically, we learned that. Well, oh gosh, don't even quote me on this because I'm so into brows right now that like I have to pull this from somewhere. Yeah. But you basically breathe when you go down. And inhale when you go down, and exhale when you come up. You know, so during exercise, I want to say there's a correct way to do it, but I could be wrong. I don't really remember. But when I exercise, I definitely find my breath. Yeah. Because exercising just builds mental toughness for me. Like that's my therapy. Like this morning. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm so happy I showed up today because I had a rough night's sleeping. I just couldn't fall asleep. Yeah. And then I didn't go to the gym yesterday. When I tell you my alarm went off at 5 o'clock in the morning, jumped up and went to the gym. As you should. And I was just there like, I didn't talk to nobody yet. Nobody said nothing to me. It was just such a good feeling. Yeah. And I just was focusing on my breathing. Yeah. So I'm here. Yes. I'm so proud of you. Thank you. I'm so proud. Yes. And I just love seeing other people, like, holding themselves accountable, holding themselves to a standard. So then it just makes, I just love being around other winners. Like that's literally it. Like I just like people around me who are doing stuff for themselves, even if it's not creative wise, right? Even if they are like at a job and like doing their thing, because I respect that too. Yeah. I just like people who like are hustlers, like who don't have a loser's mindset. I definitely agree. I feel like when that's what you're about, that's all you need to be about, because like I said, like everything is just energy. And it's like, I feel like Connecticut is a turn off for me. Yeah. I just feel like I call Connecticut crab in the bucket Connecticut. Yeah. But it's like when you can call it that, but when you realize that you're not a crab and you're not in a bucket, it's just like, oh, that's what it is. So with everything being energy, yeah, that's why it's important to surround yourself around people that's getting up and getting to it. Because the people that are not, they're gonna weigh you down. And they say, oh, we have friends for everything. And it's just like, at this adult age and like with the economy going away, like we don't have time for that. Like some of them day ones gotta go. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, if you see me over here doing this and you're not even, I'm not saying you gotta start a business, but if you're not even inspired to like work out or create a new better habit, then let me remove myself.
Because I'm doing better habits. Like I don't want to keep getting pulled down by the same old stuff. Like it's just, I don't know, it's just too limiting for me. Like, where there's people like you that I met in adulthood, and like I'm sure there's other people out there that you can open yourself to meeting and like having those new different experiences, you know, even different conversations. Like
it's definitely out there.
Yeah, it is.
But when you feel like it's not, it sucks to be there.
Yeah.
It's just like, nobody gets me. Nobody understands.
Yeah.
Get away from me.
Right. And
I want to say, I'm going to take some accountability here, and I don't know if it was like the best thing to do, but when I started my business back in 2020, I cold turkey cut people off. There were people that were reaching out to me that I thought were, you know, gonna be my friends for a lifetime, and like, I want to say that I was in survival mode. I feel like as we all were, we didn't know
what was gonna happen.
Yeah. If we were gonna live to see the next day.
Yeah.
You know, COVID was really a scary thing. Like we lost a lot of people.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was studying for 5 years now. So I did an extra year, and I changed my major. A lot of BS and stuff with the courses and wait lists and all that stuff. I ended up doing an extra year. And what's funny about that is that I thought I was gonna move to Atlanta in 2019. I was supposed to graduate May 2019, and my grandmother passed away in March 2019. My nana, my mom's mom. Thank you. And then my dad's great grandfather passed away. I want to say like that same week, and then my uncle and my aunt on my grandmother's husband's side passed away.
So it was like all in 2020.
All in 2019 in the same week. And I was supposed to graduate May 2019. So I was on a wait list to get into this next course, to be able to get to the next level. I was number 2 on the waiting list, which typically if you're 1 or 2, you're getting in that class.
Yeah.
Because somebody else needed the credits, they bumped me down to number 3. And I'm not gonna lie, I definitely feel like it was a racial thing. You know what I mean? Because this was a Caucasian woman. And I really hate to go there, but I'm sorry, like that's the first thing I thought. I'm like, this is unfair.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You needed the credits.
And I did, because I was gonna move to Atlanta. I took my permanent makeup class, and a couple of months. Okay, so I was pretty much working 3 jobs, and one job I was working about 80 hours a week, and during that time I was in a relationship, and I felt like, you don't have time for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just gonna work and get this money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just started getting like super busy, started falling in love with money. I started working at 16, started making my own money. I loved how that felt.
Yeah.
And fast forward to a couple of months after I experienced all those deaths and I didn't get into the course, a friend of mine was doing lashes, and she was just telling me like how successful she was, and I'm like, that's awesome, but I don't want to do lashes. Everybody's doing lashes, you know? That's what I thought. And I had a nail technician at the time who started doing microblading. And he's like, oh, I'm doing microblading now. And I'm like, how does that work? So I started doing my research, and I'm like, I want to do that. And he's like, you can't do that. Challenge accepted.
Right. I'm
doing my research, and I'm like, I don't want to do microblading. I want to do ombre brows. So the main difference is microblading creates like hair-like strokes with the blade cutting into the skin. It's an invasive technique that I don't necessarily like. I do ombre brows, which is shading on top of the skin. We're creating pixels as we go against the skin, and it goes from a light gradient to a dark gradient. So I flew myself to Atlanta. Atlanta, I don't know if you've ever been to Atlanta, but that airport's scary as hell.
Oh, twice. Yeah, it's too big.
And so I flew myself there. I took a course. It was a seminar course. It was, I think I did like $795. Then hotel. Actually, no, I stayed with my cousin. Flight. I got a rental at the time, and I was just so excited to invest in myself. I learned that skill. So in Atlanta, you only had to take a bloodborne pathogen test, and you got your license. Again, I wasn't moving to Atlanta, so I'm like, what the heck am I gonna do? I go to Connecticut. You have to have 2,000 hours to get your tattoo license. So I'm going into every tattoo shop. People are denying me. I went into about 35 tattoo shops, and I finally found someone who was willing to take me in for an apprenticeship.
Wow.
Yes. So that is what started my brow business. So at the time, my brand was called the Key of Essence, and so I started I created a page. I'm putting all these stock images, all these aesthetic pictures. And then I'm buying, ready to launch my business, and I'm buying little things here and there. So I'm working at a group home, which was my bread and butter, because I wanted to be a physician's assistant. And so all the hours I was putting in was gonna be accepted as my hands-on. So I was the youngest person at the group home, and I also had a nice responsibility, creating the schedule, getting the groceries. I would cook for everybody, I was young and lit and you know what I mean? I made sure, I'm you want hours? I got you. I made sure everybody was eating, all for me to just be set up and fired.
Wow.
Yes. They ended up getting me for insubordination. We actually had this client at the time. So I worked in a group home with autistic individuals, behavioral, and our house was the worst house. It was a state house at the time that they just acquired. And like I said, there was hours for everybody, but we got this one individual who had cerebral palsy, and his brain was there, but his speech, he had a speech impediment. So he was calling everybody the N-word and stuff like that, and he loved me for some reason, so they always wanted me with him. At the time, I would go in from 6 in the morning to 12, drop them off at the day program. Then I would drive all the way to Central, which was 30 minutes from Hamden. Take classes from 1 to 4:30. My shift was supposed to be 4 to 10. My manager was nice enough to let me do 5 to 10. It worked out. I would do 5 to 10, go home, shower, then come back and do 11 o'clock at night to 6 in the morning. I was trying to pay for school, and I ended up getting fired because that individual that I mentioned, he had to go to the hospital or something like that. There were 6 people on shift. Usually there's only 3. We had extra help. Nobody wanted to go in with him because the father, was saying weird, sexually harassing us verbally, saying weird things. He was an old retired cop.
So the father's saying this, the client is calling people the N-word.
Yes. So it was a lot of chaos, and it was actually a blessing that they fired me, because the way my life has changed, and I remember seeing this quote, and it's if you get paid $8 an hour and you buy a $32 shirt, that is, oh gosh,
X amount of
hours. I can't even. 4 hours.
Yeah.
That's 4 hours of your life. And I realized I was working 80 to 90 hours a week, putting all my money, making them rich. And when they removed me, when God removed me, I'm thank you. You know what I mean? Absolutely, thank you, because I felt basically a manager.
Yeah.
So fast forward to December 2019. I was conversing with a friend of mine who was doing lashes, and I found the place that I was at, Connolly, and I'm you're gonna be on this side doing lashes, I'm gonna be on this side doing brows. We were talking for a good 3 to 4 months about doing this together. And people don't like to talk about money, but I'm not afraid to be transparent. So at the group home, I was bringing home $3,000 every 2 weeks. Group home is such a great field. It's liberating. I absolutely love helping individuals who don't have the liberty to help themselves. It's very rewarding, and I absolutely loved it. But you can make some money there, especially if you're a college student. You do your homework. Once they're good, you can literally just do what you gotta do. You know what I mean? And so it allowed me like the freedom to do all this research on myself. So Connolly was only $500 a month. You know, utilities were included, there was no Wi-Fi, and my mom was a little hesitant and was a little fearful of me like affording this place by myself. I feel like maybe she was being a mom, maybe it was her fear, but you know, originally she's like, this is not a good idea, you need somebody. So my friend at the time, we were talking about it for about 3 months, and when it was time to sign the lease, I didn't hear from her. And so at this point, I'm searching for brow artists online. In Connecticut, there was probably only about 2 women of color who were doing brows, and I found another woman of color, and I'm like, oh, this might be really awesome. So at the time, I was going by the name The Key of Essence, and so when she came along, I didn't want to share that because that was my name, and so I'm like, what kind of name can I come up with? And I'm like, brows, the Arch Queen. So me not wanting to share my name kind of created this new brand of mine, and I just stuck with it. I just started liking it maybe last year.
Really?
Yeah, I had it for 4 years. I just started liking it maybe last year because I don't know why, but everyone loves it. I never liked the name The Arch Queen, but that's what everybody knows me as now.
Yeah, I love it. And honestly, I was just thinking like, wow, like you're just flowing and answering all the questions. Yeah, my phone died a while ago. So you're answering all the questions that I had because I also wanted to know how you got the name and all that stuff. So like, so what made you like start to love it? Did you just accept it? It's like, this is what I am. This is who I am.
Yeah, so when I first started doing brows, because I invested in the permanent makeup course, I was a new tattoo artist at the time, and I just felt like nobody was gonna trust me doing their tattoos. So I'm like, what can I do? And I'm like, I gotta learn how to wax eyebrows. And I'm like, brow mapping is so hard. Like, that's the first thing you learn in a permanent makeup course. And I'm like, how am I gonna do this? So I started practicing on friends and family, you know, but back in college, I was doing brows. Like, I was, you know, just a few friends and family, but I was using a razor. And I had a friend of mine, we were actually, before we went to bed, we would do our eyebrows.
It's so cute.
So, you know, I do have history with doing a little bit of shaping, but when I started my business, I had to teach myself henna, lamination, tinting, and I definitely had some imposter syndrome there because I wasn't 100% pleased with my work, but my clients loved it, and they just kept coming back. So basically what made me love it so much is understanding the transformations that I create and the effect that it has on women. I feel like eyebrows are the most slept on services in the beauty industry.
Definitely.
And honestly, like, don't get me wrong, I love all beauty services, especially lashes, but I feel like you can have brows without lashes, but you can't have lashes without brows.
Right.
Like, you know, you're beautiful, you have a bare face, your eyebrows are done, you know what I mean? If you had lashes on, I don't know if it's just because I'm a brow artist, but sometimes I see like the after pictures that lash artists post, and their brows are not done, and I die in the inside.
Yeah.
Versus me posting somebody without their lashes done and their brows are done, like, girl, 10 out of 10.
Right,
like
all
you're
you need
eating.
is brows. All you need
all
is
you need
brows.
is brows.
Yes.
That's it. So I feel like those who get it because
Definitely.
obviously, like, there's clientele, there's such a huge demand for it. But I personally don't feel like there's so much hype around it yet. Like, yes, and I'm not taking away from nobody who's been doing brows, because there's some great artists out there who's been doing brows for a long time. They definitely made their mark in the industry. But I feel like the brow industry is going to continue to grow, and I feel like it's going to be $1 billion industry.
Yeah,
absolutely.
As it should be, and you're going to be in it.
I'm here to stay.
Leading the way.
So yeah, that's what made me start loving the Arch Queen, because people would always say, I have an arch now. And I'm like, well, I am the Arch Queen.
I mean, it's only fitting. So, Rocky, thank you so much for just an amazing interview. I'm feeling like we're going to need a part 2. What do you think?
I say let's go for it.
Because I feel like we've had, like, there's so much more that we didn't really get to touch on.
Yes.
So, but I think that we did learn a lot about you. I learned a lot about you. I learned that even more, like, just always trust the universe. The universe knows what you need. Not even it knows what you want to, but it really knows what you need, and it will bring you and like gravitate you to like souls that are connected to yours, like I feel it did with us.
Yes.
Let the people know your handle and anything you want to tell them.
So you can find me at the Arch Queen with 2 N's. On
2 N's or 2 H's?
2 N's in Queen. So
okay.
QUEENN.
Gotcha.
On Instagram and on TikTok.
Ooh.
And everybody wants to know the key of success, and I feel like it's just believing in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That is the key. If you want to succeed, you simply just have to believe in yourself. You have to execute, and you have to have enough discipline to keep you consistent, because you're not going to see those results overnight.
Absolutely not. And like everything that looks the best online and it looks like it was overnight literally wasn't. Just nobody really wants to see the groundwork. They just want to see the beautiful picture at the end. And again, thank you for coming on the pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
Guys, don't forget to follow the pod at TSO Pod on Instagram and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like this video, drop a comment. Yeah, this was great. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.